Hola, ¿cómo estás? Soy Viviana Guayo Maruri y te doy la bienvenida al podcast Más allá de la apariencia, nombre que nace de mi libro lanzado en el 2021. En este espacio abordaremos algunos temas de mi libro como las creencias limitantes, imagen personal, etiqueta y comunicación. Además, tendremos momentos para contar anécdotas, experiencias y entrevistas que expandan tu desarrollo personal y profesional. Bienvenidos.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Sterling. It is such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for accepting my invitation and share valuable content with my community. First of all, I want to apologize if my English is not perfect. You are my first podcast episode in English, inspired by your book on how to seek discomfort. I speak English occasionally, but never thought I would do a podcast episode in another language. It makes me feel a little bit nervous. So thank you for inspiring me. I am grateful that you are here on my way of seeking discomfort. I thought it was important to share your insights with my community. So welcome and thank you once again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Great to spend some time with you. And your English is way better than my Spanish. So thanks for hunting discomfort as we do this thing together.
Next time we'll do it in Spanish.
Yeah, right. we won't get very much out, but we can try.
Okay. So first of all, I live in Ecuador, and
Right.
in Ecuador we are constantly challenged with discomfort, and it comes in different ways, economical ways, it comes in technology ways, and we always feel like we could never get ahead.
Sure.
In a country that we had always felt that way, can you share with us some insights on how the members in my community can embrace discomfort and make something positive out of it?
Of course. It's funny because probably the most common question I get with my book being called Hunting Discomfort is, Sterling, you got to look at my bank account, my relationships, my business, my country, my community, my family, right? I don't need to hunt discomfort. I'm surrounded by it. And it's funny, but my answer is always the same, which is that means you're living with discomfort. You're not hunting it. When you hunt discomfort, you are forever and permanently free from it. And that's the point of this whole thing. To answer your question a little more specifically, I found some research out of the University of Michigan, and they were studying discomfort, and they were specifically scanning people's brains and their bodies as they were going through different kinds of discomfort. It could be physical discomfort, like maybe somebody stubbed a toe, emotional discomfort, maybe somebody lost their job or did a podcast not in their native language. And as they were studying their brains and their bodies, they found something that blew me away. It didn't matter what kind of discomfort a person was going through. Physical, mental, emotional, their brains and bodies processed it almost identically. So much so, you can actually take Advil and it will help with emotional pain, believe it or not. That's how close those systems are. Now, that's not a biohack. I'm not a doctor. I don't suggest you do that. But what I do suggest is we can take that next step. Because if where we meet discomfort is the same everywhere, we can grow our capacity to deal with it anywhere. It's a muscle you can build. Everybody knows you go to the gym if you want to build your biceps. But if you want to grow your capacity for resilience, and even more so your ability to create breakthrough results, you hunt discomfort. There's just no other way. And so that could look like doing a podcast just like this, right? Stepping outside of the comfort zone and speaking in a language that doesn't come completely naturally to you. It could be running a marathon. It could be signing up for dance class. It could be cold calling somebody for a business. Right? It doesn't really matter what kind of discomfort you seek, what kind of discomfort you find. What's most
discomfort
important,
that makes you grow in a certain way,
right?
Like personal growth, professional growth.
Right. The key is
kind of
just do something. Find some kind of discomfort and go towards it.
Yeah, in your book, you said something. People must know what kind of discomfort. Now, you're not going to, example, I don't know, take a a piece of glass and hurt yourself. That kind of discomfort, of course, is not what we are talking about.
Right.
Okay.
But that's an important distinction, Viviana, which is there's a difference between discomfort and danger. They're not the same thing, but they're oftentimes conflated or confused together. A good example of that is cutting yourself with glass is dangerous, provable by the laws of health and physics and everything else. Like, that's not a smart thing for anybody to do. At the same time, you could look at something like public speaking, which, as somebody that used to be afraid of speaking in public, like, that's very nerve-wracking. It's terrifying for many people. But there's really no danger associated with that, at least physical danger. And so as we can better calibrate ourselves to understand what's dangerous and what's just uncomfortable, we're just going to be able to have a better impact with the things that we want to make a difference around.
Very interesting, especially discomfort that makes us grow, Okay,
Exactly.
I have another question for you about feeling connected in this global environment. You have given talks, your book is around the world. Actually, a friend of mine recommended me to read your book.
Nice.
Can you share with us a little bit more of how the community can find great stuff that is happening around the world? Tips of how can we seek for innovation or inspiring information from around the world?
From me specifically, or just generally looking for information?
From you generally, where can we find this interesting stuff, material?
Yeah. Well, first, the community is very important to grow. And it's not just a general community. I think there's specific aspects or personality traits of the people you surround yourself with that will be helpful on your journey. In fact, I don't even call it a community. I call it, you want to build yourself a street gang. Not because I look like I've been in the gang. I'm probably the furthest thing from it. But because I'm talking about people that have some real strength, some real backbone, and are going to go toe to toe with you. There's two aspects of that street gang, that community, that you want to make sure that you have in your life. The first is accountability. You want somebody outside of yourself that's going to be able to hold you accountable for what it is that you want to do. I think self-accountability is fantastic. It's necessary, and it will work to kind of maintain the level that you're at. But if you're really looking to grow, at least by any significant margin, you need some outside accountability, because as you're kind of going through the discomfort of growth, everything in your brain is going to tell you, don't do it, turn back, it's impossible, it's dangerous, it's going to hurt my career, it's going to hurt my family, right? And that person outside of you is going to be able to take a stand and say, well, let's look at it through a different lens. Let's make sure we're looking at this situation clearly. Turns out that when you are personally accountable like that, you're 95% more likely to achieve your goal. Not 70%, not 80%, 95%. So that accountability piece is absolutely key. The second piece that you want to make sure that you have is some kind of inspiration. Somebody that's going to kind of light that fire within you. Not motivation. I'm a friend of mine and my mentor, Richard Condon, he calls motivation getting yourself or somebody else to do something they don't really want to do. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that really moves you, touches you in a deeper way, that is the reason, maybe part of your calling or reason for your being, that's going to move you forward. And you can find both of those things in the No Matter What community. Certainly reach out to friends, family, coworkers, your networks online. But if somebody wanted to check out the No Matter What community, where we have hundreds of people, thousands of people from all around the world holding each other accountable, inspiring each other, really being those street gang members for each other, that's all at sterlinghawkins.com. And you can find all the social networks and emails and all the things that go along with that.
Very interesting. Speaking about the No Matter What community, can everyone join?
Everybody can join. Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. It's not like a paid membership deal. It really is a place for people that have a really big vision, a vision for their business, for their community, or their family. And most importantly, they're willing to go through the discomfort necessary to achieve it. And if that fits you in whatever format, whatever situation you're in, then yeah, then no matter what community is an open door for you to join us.
Thank you very much. We're going to join. Sure.
Great. I'm
I think
excited
it's
to
very,
have you.
I think it's very important because, as you said, we are not always motivated. So when you are like feeling down, it's important to have, for example, I found you through my friend, Eric.
Right.
So for me, it's important that we can have people around us that are going to be there when maybe we are not feeling motivated, who reminds what our goal is, what our mission in this life is. So I'm going to join the community.
Great. It'll be great to have you, anybody from your community. And feel free to write me on there. You know, if you've got questions, something you want to address, you're looking for support in a particular way, I'll do what I can to help or get you connected to the right folks there to make it happen.
You are going to have more Latinos in your community.
All right. Yeah, well,
okay,
we've got people from all over the world, from South Africa, from China, from Europe, some from South America, but you know, maybe this will be our largest contingent now.
Okay, yeah, sure. Interesting. Okay, so speaking about your brand has evolved and it's continuously innovating. What are your lessons learned on building your personal brand?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing that we had to answer to kind of give us a direction is, what is the personal brand? What is the brand really about? And we started off with tactical things like, well, we want to grow a community to this size. We want to publish this many books. We want to work with this many companies. And it's not that that's wrong, but that's not really what it's ultimately about. I started doing some research and I found the German-American theologian and philosopher Paul Tillich. And he says, as humans, there's two types of things we can be concerned with. The first are the finite things, the place that I went first. You know, certain amounts of money, certain number of locations, dollars in bank accounts, like all of those things fall into the world of finite. But what Tillich says is most important to us as humans are ultimate concerns, things that no matter what happens, they can never be taken away from us. Things like love, joy, peace, and gratitude. Anything can happen in the world, and those things still hold true. And understanding that, we really moved what the brand's about from something that was kind of tactical to realizing that the tactics were a means to an end. You know, what's most important to me, the brand, really what the brand stands for, is for people to live courageously. You'll notice no matter what happens, you can still summon that courage in some shape or form. You know, you can go through a pandemic, a tech disruption, the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one, and you can still summon that courage. And that's really become our North Star. And I think that's probably been the most important thing in building the brand, is understanding that's really what we're up to. And then all the tactics and everything that follows that, well, we can not only work on that, but change that as we grow and evolve ourselves.
Okay, very interesting. So our values, what are the resilience you have?
Could be resilience, but my question is, like, if resilience is really important to you, like, what's a moment where you felt that resilience? And that can be rhetorical. You can answer it either way, but I would look for specific moments in your life, in your business, in your family. You know, we're all the same people. We're not different people in these different components of life, but find a moment where you were really moved, touched, or inspired by something. Could be resilience, could be love, could be courage, and start to use that as at least a direction to look for what's most important to you, and what's most important, not just in the business, but to you as a human being at the end of the day.
Very interesting. I thought about something when I was a child and my mom went to another city to live, and it was very, very difficult time. But I went to Tony Robbins seminar, and he says that we should tell our stories not from a victim position, but the opposite. I forgot the word. How do I say protagonista in English? Oh my God. But
Like
not a
a
victim.
victor?
Yeah, for example. And Oh my God. Okay. The opposite of victim. And yes, it's amazing what you are telling us, because when you start looking at these moments from a different perspective, then you know how much you are capable of.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that how we see things, and things I'd categorize in three buckets: see ourselves, see another as an individual or a group, or see the world, is simply a view or a perspective of what's happening, even though like it seems very real, especially when the emotions start crashing down and you feel bad about something, or you feel like it's impossible, or you can't possibly take that next step, or, on a little bit on the flip side, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough time. You don't have the team you need. Maybe you're not the age that you think you should be or need to be, or maybe you're older than the age that you think you need to be or should be. Those are all simply perspectives. And, an analogy that's really made a lot of sense to me, and it's in the book, is that those perspectives are kind of like lenses and glasses. Now, I wear glasses, contacts now, but glasses generally. And if you were to put my glasses on, you would see much worse than you're seeing now. They're like thick as Coke bottles. I'm essentially blind without them, right? And it's the same with perspectives and beliefs. They change literally what you see. The second function of lenses that is kind of a correlate to beliefs is that, well, you usually take your glasses off. Maybe you go to the eye doctor and you evaluate the prescription. Right? Is that the right prescription for you? Now, we don't often do that when it comes to our beliefs. It's a little bit harder to step back from those beliefs of just how you feel about yourself. Like I'm shy, or I don't like to make cold calls, or, these are my ways of being, but those are simply beliefs that you have. And when you give yourself a little space, you give yourself a sacred pause to step back from those views, it gives you a chance to assess the prescription of those beliefs and change them if it's helpful. I think that when we don't have the results in our life that we want, in our business that we want, it's not simply a matter of harder work and more determination and different resources. It is simply a matter of changing the lenses through which you're seeing a situation. And when you change the lenses, the actions you take will change and new results will simply arise.
I totally agree with you. Yes. Yes. Actually, I want to share that the first time I hunted discomfort was when I quit my job like 7 years ago.
Yep.
And everybody told me like if I was crazy, starting from people I love, because you have a job, you have a salary, so who is going to give you work? I do public speaking. I give training, corporate training, and I am an image consultant, an etiquette consultant. So people say, who is going to pay for you? So it's very how do I say, superficial. Okay, so I had this belief that I'm not going to listen. I'm just going to follow my passion, my heart, and start changing those beliefs. And now I think that it was one of the best choices of my life, even though it hasn't been so easy. But it hasn't been so easy, of course. But I have grown in so many areas you can't imagine. 7 years ago, I would never ask you, would you do a podcast? Never. I'm a shy person, but I have grown in so many ways, because when you are an entrepreneur, you have to do things you are not used to. And then it's a continuous path of going out of that comfort zone and hunting discomfort. So reading your book reminded me of all of this stuff that I used to do a lot, and maybe now I'm kind of getting all over again into the comfort zone. So it was like a reaction. I'm going to ask him, what if he says yes? Okay, I really thought you are going to say me like something, oh, thank you very much, but I'm very busy, and it will be totally fine. I didn't. Okay, it was like a big surprise. You say, of course, and I was, oh my god, yes.
Yeah, well, like I said,
Why?
it's my pleasure, and it's that discomfort muscle. Like, you've gotten better at it, and the discomfort or potential discomfort doesn't phase you like it used to. And let me ask you, those people that told you couldn't or shouldn't do it in the past, how do they treat you now?
Oh, I always believe in you. I was so
Yeah.
sure. And I'm okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the same thing, not only with myself, but with countless clients and companies that I work with. And I think especially from those close friends and family that we love, they're not trying to give us bad advice, right? They're simply trying to keep us safe in the best way they know how. But at the same time, if you listen to that and you let that feed into any self-doubt that you might have, it is going to not just stop your process, but to your point, it's going to put a hold or a pause on your dreams, your true passions, the things that are going to be most important to you, not just at the end of the day, but at the end of your life. I mean, one of the research studies I pulled from was looking at the biggest deathbed regrets. Like, what do people say they wish they had done differently in their life when they look back on it? And the number one thing across the world, didn't matter which country, which continent, didn't matter what company they were with or what kind of family background they had, the number one thing was that people said, I wish I had the courage to live true to myself. And
Wow.
when you summon that courage now, it gives you, it kind of summons that purpose of something that's much more important to you, so that when you do get to the end of your life, you say, yeah, that was the life I wanted to live. I had the courage to live true to what was most important.
Wow, fantastic. So yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me how important it is to seek discomfort. Okay, this question is for me. I launched my book like 1 year ago, and you launched your book thank you very much. You launched your book 1 month ago, and it's all around the world. So any advice on how to reach more people?
Well, I think you're doing it. It's in the sharing that people are going to see some opportunities for themselves. And you've done it right here on this podcast. The podcast is the maybe channel that you're using, but you're sharing more vulnerable, more open things about yourself that people will hear themselves in and say, oh, well, maybe Viviana, she had the courage to start her own business and she was in a similar situation to me. Maybe I could do that too. Like, I haven't yet, maybe I could. And I think the more places you share like that, whether it's on a podcast, your social media, with your friends and family, at the bar that you head out to on the weekend, like any of the places, the more you share that stuff, I think the more people are going to see themselves in you, in your story, in what you've accomplished and everything that you're doing. And in turn, not only are they going to follow you, but it's going to inspire others to do the same. And that's really, I think, how you get a message out. It's like if you were to drop a stone in a pond, there's a ripple effect that builds concentric circles from where you are. And every time you share something that's deeply important to you or share a personal story, you're creating that ripple effect around you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you have traveled a lot. I think you have been to Peru, maybe?
I have.
Eric told me you have been to Peru.
Yeah.
But he told me you have never been to Ecuador. So do you know, Eric, any curious facts?
That's not true. I was in Ecuador about a decade ago. I was in Quito and the Galapagos Islands. Yeah.
Do you like it?
It was incredible. Have you ever been to the Galapagos?
Yes, Galapagos Islands.
For me, one of the most amazing trips of my life. I mean, I remember as a kid learning about Charles Darwin and evolution, and they almost always pointed to the Galapagos, and it was a place that I had always wanted to go in my life. And so for my 30th birthday, I wasn't going to do anything. And then 2 days before my birthday, I ended up buying a plane ticket through Quito to the Galapagos Islands and found, it must have been a stroke of luck, but found one of the 2 sailing boats, at least at the time, that was taking passengers around the islands. And it looked like a pirate ship. And to spend, I think it was like 7, 8, 9 days on this thing sailing around the Galapagos was one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life.
Yes, it's amazing. It's very touristic.
Yeah.
You should come to Guayaquil. It's the city where I live.
Well, now I know somebody there.
Yes, you are very welcome.
Thank you. Would love to visit.
Okay. Thank you very much for this time, for this space. Any final message you want to share with our community?
Sure. I think it's easy to avoid, deny, or survive discomfort, just in all the ways we're talking about. But understand that not only is that the location where all your results are, but it's also a superpower to be better, faster, and stronger. I found research out of Yale, and they found that when you are uncomfortable, when you're experiencing discomfort, whatever that feels like for you, your heart races, your skin gets hot, your hands get clammy, like all those experiences, when you're in the state of discomfort, you will learn up to 4 times faster. Discomfort's not something to avoid. It's something to use. It's a superpower that makes you better, faster, and stronger. So hopefully, for both of us and for everybody listening, we can kind of look at that discomfort in a new way. And instead of avoiding discomfort, we can start hunting it.
I got curious.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something that, for example, makes you feel like you are hunting discomfort? For example, for me, having this podcast in another language. For you?
For me, many things. Speaking in public scared me for years. Launching this book was a massive undertaking in confronting the discomfort of self-doubt and fear of exposure in myself. And I'm still going through it, by the way, with all the podcasts and the PR and everything else that's going in around it. I have thoughts that I feel like most authors would have, like, is anybody going to read it? Was it worthwhile to write that book? Am I going to get people that really don't like it? And by the way, I have heard from some of those people.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I've been there with those thoughts.
I think so too. But it's something like I've been speaking professionally for 5, 6 years now, something like that. And people had been telling me to write a book and write a book and write a book. And I just kept putting it off because I was just frankly avoiding discomfort. I was scared to do it. But it was masked in reasons, just like we all have. Like, oh, I'm busy doing this. I can't because of that. My budget's allocated elsewhere, right? There's always reasons that mask whatever the core discomfort is. And when I finally saw it for myself, it was clear as day. And I realized that I had to go through that discomfort. I had to write this book because, well, it was important to me. And I know that on the other side of going through that fear, going through those uncomfortable things is brand new results. And there's much more depth and meaning and connection than I could ever even imagine. So I did what I would suggest anybody do when you see this like glaring opportunity of discomfort is you make a commitment.
And I think it's important to share that we are not going to please everyone, but there are a lot of people that we can't even imagine that we are helping through a living experience, through a book. And because that was something that really, it was something that mattered to me before that. What about the haters? What about people telling me that it's not worth your book or your material or your content? But I realized that instead of reading or giving attention to those people, because one teacher told me that you can do whatever you want, and there always going to be people that are judging you. You can't escape from that. So follow your heart, and you are going to find your community, because you can't even imagine how many people you can reach with your message, with your service. And I think it's important to share this because maybe someone who is listening is feeling this way. So no, what about because I have learned from my clients that these people are also in the family, in the friends, that
Yeah.
your book sucks and what?
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that we are not going to please everyone.
Very much so. Yeah. Yeah. And when we make a commitment that's bigger than our discomfort, it kind of calls us forth in the face of some of those naysayers.
Okay. Sterling, it has been an amazing conversation. Thank you once again. Can you remind us where can we find your book, your social media, everything about you so our community can find you?
Of course. So everything about me and the work that I do with companies and clients, you can find at sterlinghawkins.com, and all my social media is there. It's very searchable. It's all Sterling Hawkins in some shape or form. And if you're interested in learning a little bit about the book, you can go to huntingdiscomfort.com. And one thing I'd say about that is there's a free quiz you can take to find the discomfort that's blocking you, because we construct our lives and therefore our businesses to avoid the discomfort that feels the worst, that's most painful. And this quiz gives you a little bit of insight into what that might be for you and a pathway for something to do about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Remember, people, let's hunt discomfort. Thank you, Sterling. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
My pleasure. You too.